Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to becoming truly well-informed, where we discover the pure joy of uncovering hidden knowledge. Today, we're embarking on quite a fascinating journey, a deep dive into the intricate world of 15th and 16th century Dutch engravings. This was all sparked by a really monumental exhibition at the Hermitage Museum's Gallery of Graphics.
Yeah, and that exhibition itself presented a fascinating challenge right from the start. It was originally conceived to combine both drawings and engravings, but the sheer richness of the Hermitage's collection, well, in both areas, it just made it impossible to fit everything into a single show.
Okay. Too much good stuff.
Exactly. But this unexpected split, it actually gave us a unique opportunity, really, to explore these related yet fundamentally distinct art forms in even greater depth.
Absolutely. So our mission today is clear then. We're going to unpack the nuanced relationship between drawings and engravings. We'll try to understand their unique characteristics and then dive deep into the groundbreaking work of a true pioneer, Lucas van Leyden, and his incredibly talented contemporaries. By the end of this, you'll have a whole new appreciation for what we call art on paper. Okay, let's unpack this. We often casually lump drawings and engravings together under the broad term graphics. But I wonder, is that, an oversimplification? Are they more fundamentally different than we assume? Or are there surprising commonalities that bind them?
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here is that while both are indeed art on paper, and they do share aesthetic similarities, like the crucial role of the white sheet and the primacy of the line, their core nature is quite distinct. A drawing is typically an original, unique piece, handmade by the artist, often for personal use, perhaps as a study or, a workshop exercise. It's really about the unique touch of the hand.
Right, a one-off.
Exactly. An engraving, on the other hand, it's a printed, reproducible technique. It's designed for mass production and, importantly, for the market. So it becomes a finished artistic statement intended for a wider audience. And this fundamental difference, well, it meant engravings really democratized art in a way, made it accessible to a broader public, fostered a new kind of visual literacy, quite unlike the inherent exclusivity of unique drawings.
So the market aspect really set them apart right from the start. It's interesting.
Precisely. And this distinction has practical implications too.
Yeah.
Okay? Both are on paper, so they need similar light-sensitive storage and exhibition rules. It can't be on permanent display like a painting. However, the sheer quantity of surviving engraving, compared to the far fewer unique drawings, it demands a kind of deep immersion. You need specialized knowledge to study them properly. And this is where engraving connoisseurs, it sounds a bit grand, but it's true, this sort of special, almost privileged caste in European museums like the Hermitage, they become absolutely essential.
Privileged caste is a strong phrase. What makes their expertise so unique and indispensable in the world of engravings?
Well, it's really due to the immense scale of surviving prints and the subtle, often microscopic details involved. Think of it this way. Printing plates, copper plates usually, they wear out over time with use.
Right.
So the earliest impressions, pulled when the plate is fresh and sharp, they're crisp, rich, detailed, beautiful. But later impressions can be blurry, faint, they lose that artistic quality. A connoisseur can discern these nuances, distinguishing a pristine, rare, early print from a later, less valuable one. So their judgment is crucial for authenticity and historical understanding.
Got it. That makes sense. Now, this deep dive is truly inspired by a monumental effort at the Hermitage. You mentioned for the first time in its history, a large-scale exhibition dedicated solely to Dutch engravings has been mounted. That sounds like an enormous undertaking, a real behind-the-scenes kind of revolution.
Oh, it certainly was a huge effort. Prior to this, the Hermitage's Dutch engraving collection, which had been accumulated steadily since Catherine the Great's era, mind you,
Wow.
it was dispersed, scattered across various categories and storage units. So to prepare for the show, we had to conduct a massive inventory and a complete revision of the entire collection. And what we discovered was, well, it wasn't just extensive, it was remarkably representative of the entire history of Dutch engraving.
Fantastic.
The exhibition primarily showcases metal engraving, especially using the burn, or chisel. You can think of the burn as a sharp V-shaped tool that carves lines directly into a metal plate. It demands incredible precision and, frankly, strength.
Yeah.
This is an incredibly laborious, elite technique that completely dominated until well into the 17th century. You'll also see some etchings in the show, but they were typically reserved for what were considered secondary genres at the time, like landscapes and ornaments.
And the chronological boundaries of this exhibition are really telling, aren't they? It purposefully concludes around 1585. That's a pivotal year, marking the breakup of the Netherlands into Flanders and Holland.
Exactly.
And this isn't just significant historically, it's artistically crucial too, ushering in new centers of engraving and the emergence of masters like Hendrik Goldsmith, who, as you said, literally changed the game.
Yes, it's a very natural breaking point. Now, while the earlier drawings exhibition covered the early 15th century, our engraving exhibition begins a bit later, around 1510. But for understanding Dutch engraving, this isn't a catastrophic gap. Not really. Because in the minds of the Netherlanders themselves during the 15th century, the art of engraving truly began with the emergence of one particular genius, Lucas van Leyden.
Okay, so having set the stage for these printmakers, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about Lucas van Leyden, often hailed as the founding father of Dutch engraving. What was it about his story, his talent, that allowed him to make such an astonishing impact?
Well, to contextualize his rise, you have to understand that before Lucas, despite the Netherlands' prominence in other artistic fields, I mean, think of masters like Van
Aren't
Eyck.
British names.
Exactly. Engraving was largely peripheral. It wasn't the main event. Around the turn of the 15th and 16th centuries, engraving was being recognized as an independent art form across Europe, thanks to figures like Schongauer and, of course, Dürer in Germany. But this global exchange of artistic ideas, it largely bypassed the Netherlands until Lucas van Leyden arrived on the scene.
So he was the catalyst.
He really was. Lucas was an absolute prodigy and largely self-taught in engraving, which is incredible. He likely had a jeweler's background, which might explain his incredible precision. His skills were clearly honed by studying prints from those German masters, Schongauer and Dürer. But what's truly remarkable is that by the 1510s, just a few years after he started, he had become a complete virtuoso with the burin. He was creating masterpieces even while, arguably still grappling with aspects like figure construction and spatial representation in his earliest works. It's astonishing.
Wow. So his influence must have been immense then, extending far beyond the Netherlands. How did his work maybe redefine narrative possibilities for his contemporaries and successors?
Oh, absolutely. He didn't just put Dutch engraving on the map, he kind of redefined narrative possibilities in print. He started shifting from purely religious scenes to more nuanced human stories, and that really laid groundwork for later genre painting. And a prime example of his reach is Marcantonio Raimondi in Italy, who famously popularized Raphael's art through his prints.
Right, I know him.
Well, Raimondi openly borrowed landscape backgrounds and even figure compositions directly from Lucas van Leyden's engravings. That shows you the level of respect.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So the influence flowed both ways later on.
Yes, though initially Lucas was the source. His distinctive style is what truly sets him apart, though. He possessed this astonishing subtlety of stroke, a remarkable freedom in his line, and an uncanny ability to achieve a rich range of tones. He created these silvery, shimmering shades that are almost unique to him.
Silvery, shimmering shades. I like that description.
You can really see this in early masterpieces, like Expulsion from Paradise. It showcases such light, sliding shadows and intricate details, especially in the depiction of trees. Then later works, like the multi-figured Calvary, demonstrate a more dramatic chiaroscuro. That's the strong contrast of light and dark, but still with exquisitely subtle tones.
But what's fascinating is that this very delicate engraving technique, while beautiful, it actually presented a technical challenge, didn't it?
It did. The copper plates, because his lines were so fine, wore out relatively quickly, which meant there were fewer high-quality prints produced from the fresh plate. So many surviving impressions, even in major museums, are often later more worn examples. For this exhibition, the curator had to make a conscious effort, to balance print quality with historical representativeness.
Right.
You see this in the inclusion of the milkmaid, which, okay, maybe it's not the absolute crispest impression surviving anywhere,
Right.
but it's an incredibly important early peasant genre scene, so it had to be there.
Understood. It's about telling the whole story.
Exactly. And his fame only grew over time, especially in the 17th century when Holland was actively seeking to define its own national art. They embraced Lucas as a foundational figure, recognizing his profound influence on subsequent greats like Goldsmith and even Rembrandt, while Dürer might have been more universally acclaimed and perhaps versatile across Europe during their shared lifetime.
Which is saying something.
Absolutely. But for the Netherlands, Lucas van Leyden was the absolute originating genius. He truly put Dutch engraving on the map.
So Lucas van Leyden's genius wasn't just limited to technical mastery. You're saying he was also an incredible storyteller and a profound innovator in iconography, often subverting or enriching traditional narratives in unexpected ways. How exactly did he achieve this?
Well, let's look at some examples. His expulsion from paradise, for instance. While it's commonly known by that title, it actually depicts something closer to the first family. It shows Adam and Eve after their expulsion living their earthly lives. You see Eve giving birth, Adam toiling the land.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just the moment of banishment.
No, it blends the narrative of expulsion with this subtle hint of salvation through destiny and labor. A significant message for the Netherlands at the time, emphasizing the importance of fulfilling one's God-given role. Hard work.
Wow, so the first family. That completely recontextualizes the usual expulsion scene.
Yeah.
What other narratives did he creatively reinterpret?
Then there's the milkmaid. A really unusual and enigmatic composition. It features a peasant figure with these subtle sexual undertones, a milkmaid, and these monumentally depicted cows. It creates this strange, almost religious atmosphere around these everyday figures.
Monumental cows.
Yeah, and this piece holds great significance because it's believed to be the very first peasant genre scene in the Netherlands, setting a crucial precedent for future artistic developments like Bruegel later on.
Right, the start of a whole tradition.
Precisely. And for a fascinating anecdote from the curator regarding connoisseurship, consider Dance of Mary Magdalene. An impression of this work, which had previously been exhibited and published as an original Lucas, well, it was later discovered to be a copy.
Oh, wow. So even the experts can be fooled sometimes.
It happens. It highlights the ongoing challenges and demands of connoisseurship in the art world. It's a constant process of scrutiny. But iconographically, the image itself perfectly reflects Lucas's innovative approach. It depicts Mary Magdalene's worldly life before meeting Christ, drawing on popular Gardens of Delight motifs, elegant scenes with music, courting couples, that sort of thing.
Okay.
But the inclusion of a fool figure subtly signals the scene's immorality and vice. It offers collectors a kind of dual meaning, an elegant, visually appealing scene, but with a moral reminder tucked underneath.
That's a clever way to cater to different interpretations or perhaps sensibilities. Bit of cake and eat it too.
Something like that. Finally, The Dentist. It's a small satirical genre scene. Its story is actually connected to Lucas van Leyden's meeting with Dürer in Antwerp in 1521. Dürer had done similar themes.
Ah, the influence again.
Yes. And the composition cleverly plays on a Dutch phrase, to pull a tooth, which also meant to pull a purse or cheat someone.
Ah, like pulling someone's leg.
Sort of, but more about theft. It depicts a dentist extracting a tooth while his assistant simultaneously cuts the unsuspecting patient's purse.
Ouch. Both literally and figuratively.
Exactly. And this piece had a long life. It gained new popularity in 17th century Holland and inspired numerous paintings, shows its enduring cultural impact and how art could also function as social commentary, even satire.
So, having seen his technical prowess and these narrative innovations, how did Lucas's vision also bridge artistic eras, moving, as you said, from late Gothic traditions towards the full embrace of the Italian Renaissance?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, his print Virgil in a Basket, created in 1525, is a really pivotal work in his stylistic evolution. It depicts that familiar, rather amusing medieval legend of Virgil's humiliation.
Right, the wise man left dangling.
Exactly. Promised a night with the emperor's daughter, but left hanging in a basket halfway up her wall, becoming a public spectacle. A story about the power of women, really. But what's noteworthy here is the compositional innovation. The main scene, Virgil actually in the basket, is placed small and deep in the background. The foreground focuses entirely on the reactions of the onlookers, the crowd pointing and gossiping.
Oh, that is interesting. Shifting the focus.
Yes, and Lucas played a significant role in popularizing this compositional device. It later influenced artists like Peter Bruegel the Elder quite profoundly. The wide dissemination of his engravings helped spread this novel approach across Europe.
So the medium itself helps spread the innovation.
Absolutely. And stylistically, this work marks a decisive move away from the linear, ornamental qualities of late Gothic art towards the problems of figure construction and spatial representation that were characteristic of the Renaissance. This was the era, remember, of the high Roman-style Raphael, Michelangelo. Big shifts happening in Italy. Lucas was introduced to this new artistic language primarily by Jan Gossart, who's considered the first real Romanist painter in the Netherlands. Gossart had been to Italy and brought back these ideas. He was a crucial conduit.
Okay, so Gossart was the bridge for him.
In many ways, yes. Virgil in a Basket is definitely a transitional piece. It still retains Lucas's love for narrative detail, you can see that. But it shows a new, profound understanding of the figure, of gesture, of conveying weight and presence. The central figure in the foreground is even believed to be a portrait of Gossart himself.
Really? A little tribute.
Possibly. Following this work, Lucas really focused fully on the nude classical figure, sometimes even reining in his natural narrative talent, it seems. And he became significantly influenced by Italian engravers like Marcantonio Raimondi, which is a complete reversal of their earlier dynamic, where Raimondi was borrowing from him.
Fascinating turnaround.
It was, and this was a crucial stage. Depicting the nude figure convincingly was especially challenging for Northern European artists like Lucas. They lacked the ready access to antique sculpture for study and the systematic anatomical training that was becoming prevalent in Italy.
Right, their main reference point was often other images.
Exactly, particularly engravings coming up from Italy. So Lucas's work in this later period initiated a crucial stage where Netherlandish masters delved deeper into Renaissance classicism, and this influenced Dutch engraving for decades to come.
So, to fully appreciate the exhibition and this period, it's worth highlighting other significant pieces that complement Lucas's work. They showcase the broader stylistic and thematic breadth of this time. What other voices were out there contributing to this dynamic artistic landscape?
Well, we see fascinating contrasts. For example, Dirk Vellert's Temptation of Christ. It demonstrates the lingering influence of late Gothic ornamental tastes in the Netherlands. Its forms really emphasize linearity, silhouette, rhythm, very decorative. Even though it was created around the time of that meeting between Dürer and Lucas, it shows how older styles persisted alongside these new innovations. Not everyone jumped on the Renaissance bandwagon immediately.
A mix of old and new.
Precisely. Then there's Jan Gossart's Madonna and Child, which is actually an experimental metal engraving by him. Now, Gossart might have been less technically virtuosic as an engraver than Lucas, certainly, but this small piece possesses an astonishing integrity, a real emotional depth, and a kind of monumental quality despite its size.
Yeah.
It's truly an absolute masterpiece of the first third of the 16th century.
Wow. So Gossart the painter trying engraving.
Yes, and succeeding beautifully in his own way. It also beautifully illustrates that sense of plasticity and sculptural form, that feeling of three-dimensionality that Lucas himself assimilated from Gossart. So these works, seen together, they really showcase just how rich and diverse Dutch engraving was during this pivotal period of transition and discovery.
So what does this all mean? We've just taken quite a deep dive into the rich world of Dutch engraving. We've revealed its unique relationship with drawing, the monumental impact of Lucas van Leyden, and the dynamic artistic shifts of the 15th and 16th centuries. What aspects of this journey resonated most with you listening? For me, I'm really struck by the way an artist like Lucas could blend such profound storytelling with just dazzling technical virtuosity, creating works that not only captured the imagination of his time, but as you've shown, also laid the groundwork for entirely new artistic movements. It's quite something.
Yeah, I think this journey reminds us how art forms evolve through this complex combination of technical mastery, individual artistic vision, and crucially, continuous cultural exchange. You know, artists looking at other artists' work, often through prints. And it also shows us that even a seemingly small detail, like the quality of a print impression or an accidental copy discovered later, can illuminate really profound aspects of art history and the demanding, ongoing work of connoisseurship. It's a testament, really, to the enduring power of prints to disseminate ideas and shape artistic sensibilities across borders and time.
Well, we hope this deep dive has offered you a fresh perspective and perhaps even inspired you to look closer at the art that surrounds you, maybe even some prints or engravings you hadn't noticed before. Thank you for joining us. Join us for our next deep dive, where we'll explore the world of unusual woodcuts and the fascinating publishing activities of Hieronymus Koch. Should be another great one.